Hello, welcome to my channel. So today I read another Japanese folktale. So the title is Sarukanigassen in Japanese, and English title is The Monkey and the Crab. So it is a little sad and harsh story, but it teaches a moral lesson. So let's get started. The Monkey and the Crab. Long ago, there was a quiet village. It was surrounded by soft green hills. Everything there moved slowly, and everything felt calm. In that peaceful place, a small crab lived near a clear stream that flowed gently over smooth stones, making a soft and endless sound. Every morning, the crab woke up early and stepped outside into the cool air. It paused for a moment and enjoyed the stillness of the world. The ground felt soft under its feet, and a light breeze moved through the trees, carrying a gentle natural scent. The crab lived a simple life, but it felt happy each day. The stream was its favorite place, and it often walked along the water while watching the small ripples and listening to the soft sound that never seemed to end. Sometimes the crab stopped walking and looked into the water, feeling calm and at peace. One warm afternoon, the crab walked along a familiar path while soft sunlight filtered through the trees and gently lit the ground. Everything felt quiet and everything felt normal. Then something caught its eye, and the crab noticed a small object on the ground. It stopped and slowly moved closer to take a better look. It found a seed that was small, round, and simple in appearance. The crab picked it up and looked at it closely, turning it gently in its hand. The seed was hard and smooth, and although it looked plain, the crab felt that it might become something special one day. It quietly wondered what it could grow into if it were planted and cared for over time. At that moment, a monkey appeared from the trees and moved lightly toward the crab, as if he had been watching for a while. He was lively and full of energy, with bright eyes and a playful smile. He noticed the seed and quickly became curious. "What do you have there?" he asked, as he stepped closer. The crab looked up and answered softly, "I found this just now, and it's a seed." The monkey looked at it and gave a smile grin, as if he already had an idea in mind. "A seed is not very useful right now," he said, and then he slowly lifted something in his hand to show the crab. "But look at this." It was a rice ball that looked soft, warm, and freshly made. The crab looked at it carefully and began to imagine how it would taste. The rice ball could be eaten right away, while the seed would take time and care before it could grow into anything. The crab felt unsure and could not decide what was better. The monkey watched quietly and kept smiling as he waited. "Would you like to trade?" he asked gently. "I will give you this rice ball, and you can give me the seed." The crab thought for a moment while listening to the soft sound of the stream in the background. The rice ball looked very tempting because it was warm, easy, and ready to eat. At last, the crab nodded and agreed to the trade. They exchanged their items, and the monkey quickly took the seed while the crab carefully held the rice ball. The crab sat down by the stream and began to eat slowly, enjoying each bite. The rice ball was soft and delicious, and for a moment the crab felt very happy. However, the feeling did not last long. As soon the rice ball was gone. There was nothing left, and the crab looked at its empty hands while listening to the quiet sound of the flowing water. As the day came to an end and the sky slowly turned warm colors, the crab began to think again about the seed and whatever it had made the right choice. It wondered if it had made a mistake and felt a quiet sense of doubt. That night, the crab lay quietly and continued to think about what might have happened if it had kept the seed. It imagined that the seed might have grown into a tree, and that thought stayed gently in its heart. The next morning, the crab woke up and felt a quiet sense of determination. By chance, it found another seed near its home, and this time it decided to keep it without hesitation. The crab chose a soft place in the ground and planted the seed carefully. It covered it gently with soil and gave it a small amount of water. From that day on, the crab took care of the seed every morning, returning again and again with patience and quiet hope. Days passed, and then weeks passed, as time moved slowly and gently forward. One day, a small green sprout appeared from the earth, and the crab felt a quiet sense of joy. It watched the sprout closely as it slowly grew into a small plant and became stronger with each passing day. The crab continued to care for it with kindness and patience. As more time passed, the plant grew larger and eventually became a young tree with leaves that moved softly in the wind. The crab looked up at the tree and felt a warm feeling in its heart. It was truly glad that it had chosen to keep the seed. After that day, the crab continued its quiet routine, visiting the small spot in the ground where the seed had been planted. Every morning and every morning, it returned to the same place and gently watered the soil. It also spoke softly, as if the seed could hear its voice and understand its feelings. The day passed slowly, and the world around the crab remained calm and peaceful. Sometimes the wind blew a little stronger, and sometimes the rain fell gently onto the earth. But the crab never forgot to care for seed. It came back again and again, always with patience and quiet hope. As time went by, the small sprout began to grow taller, and its leaves slowly opened towards the sky. The crab watched every change with great care, noticing even the smallest difference from one day to the next. It felt a quiet happiness each time it saw the plant grow, even if the change was very small. The plant soon became stronger, and its stem grew thicker as it reached upward. Its leaves moved softly in the wind, catching the sunlight and shining gently in the afternoon light. The crab often stood nearby and looked up, feeling proud of what it had helped to grow. Days turned into weeks, and the weeks slowly turned into longer stretches of time that passed without notice. The plant continued to grow and became larger, and before long, it was no longer just a small plant. It had become a young tree. Its branches spread outward, and its leaves created soft shadows on the ground below. The tree stood quietly, full of life, and seemed to move gently with the rhythm of the wind. The crab often walked around the tree, looking at it from different angles and enjoying the peaceful feeling it brought. It remembered the day it had planted the seed and felt grateful that it had made that choice. As the season changes, the air became warmer and the sunlight grew stronger during the day. The tree responded to the change, growing even more and reaching higher into the sky. Then one day, something new appeared on the branches. Small shapes began to form among the leaves. At first, they were difficult to see, but as the days passed, they became clear. They were tiny fruits. The crab noticed them and moved closer, looking carefully at the branches above. The fruits were still green and hard, but they were growing steadily, just like the tree had done before. The crab felt a quiet excitement as it realized what they were. These were persimmons, the same kind of fruits that had once come from the seed. crab continued to visit the tree every day, watching the fruits as they slowly changed. Little by little, their color began to shift from green to a soft orange. The change was slow, but it was steady and beautiful. Each day brought a small difference, and the crab noticed every one of them. As time went on, the fruits became round and full, hanging gently from the branches. They began to look soft and ready to eat. The tree was now filled with many bright persimmons growing warmly in the sunlight. The sight was beautiful, and the crab felt a deep sense of happiness as it looked up at them. It had waited a long time for this moment, and now the tree has finally given its reward. However, as the crab stood beneath the tree, it slowly realized something important. The fruits were high above the ground. They were far out of reach. The crab tried to move closer and looked for a way to climb, but its small body was not made for such a task. No matter how it tried, it could not reach the branches. The crab stepped back and looked up again, feeling a quiet sense of disappointment. It had cared for the tree with so much patience, and now the fruits were ready, but it could not enjoy them. As the crab stood there thinking, a familiar feeling returned to its mind. It remembered the monkey. The memory of that day came back slowly, along with a small sense of doubt. At that moment, as if appearing by chance, the monkey came walking through the trees. He noticed the large tree and the many fruits hanging from its branches. He stopped and looked up with interest. "That is a fine tree," he said, smiling as he observed the bright persimmons. The crab looked at him quietly and felt uncertain, remembering what had happened before. The monkey stepped closer to spoke again in a friendly voice. "Those fruits look very good," he said as he glanced between the tree and the crab. The crab nodded slowly, answered, "Yes, they are ready now." The monkey tilted his head slightly and then looked up at the tree once more. "But you cannot reach them," he said in calm voice. The crab lowered its eyes for a moment and then answered honestly, "No, I can't." The monkey smiled again, and this time his expression seemed gentle and helpful. I can climb the tree," he said. "I can pick the fruits for you." The crab hesitated and remained silent for a moment. It remembered the past and felt a small sense of worry. However, it also looked at the fruits again and felt a strong desire to taste them. After thinking carefully, the crab made its decision. Please help me, it said quietly. The monkey nodded and moved toward the tree without hesitation. He placed his hand on the trunk and began to climb quickly and easily. In a short time, he reached the branches filled with ripe persimmons. The leaves moved softly as he climbed higher. The crab watched from below, looking up with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. The monkey reached the branches and carefully picked one of the persimmons. It was large, soft, and perfectly ripe. He held it in his hand and looked at it with quiet satisfaction. Below, the crab waited and looked up at him. Is it ready? The crab asked in a gentle voice. The monkey glanced down for a moment and replied, Yes, it is ready. However, instead of bringing the fruit down, he raised it slowly toward his mouth. Then he took a bite. The sweet juice filled his mouth, and he smiled as he tasted the rich flavor. It is very good, he said quietly. The crab heard his word and felt a small sense of happiness, believing that it would soon be able to taste the fruit as well. The monkey picked another persimmon, and then another. He continued to eat the ripe fruits one after another, enjoying them without thinking about the crab below. The branches moved gently as he shifted his weight from one side to the other. The leaves rustled softly in the wind, and the bright fruits softly disappeared. Below, the crab continued to wait. It watched patiently and trusted that the monkey would share the fruit. After a while, the crab spoke again. Could you bring one down for me? It asked softly. The monkey paused for a moment and looked down at the crab. Then he looked around the branches. This time his hand reached for a different fruit. It was not soft or ripe. It was still hard and green. He held it for a moment, and then a small smile appeared on his face. Without saying anything, he threw the fruit downward. It fell quickly and struck the ground with a heavy sound. The crab stepped back in surprise. That one is not ready yet, it said gently. But before the words faded, another fruit came falling down. And then another. The monkey continued to throw the hard, unripe fruits without care. The sounds grew heavier as they hit the ground one after another. The crab tried to move away, but it was not fast enough to avoid them all. Please stop, the crab said, its voice filled with worry. Those fruits are still hard. The monkey laughed lightly, as if he did not care about the crab's word. Then, One fruit fell directly towards the crab. It struck the crab hard. The impact was strong, and the crab could not move. Everything became quiet. The wind seemed to stop, and even the leaves grew still. The crab lay on the ground without moving. Its voice faded, and the gentle life it had lived came to a sudden end. Time passed slowly as the light of the day began to fade. The sky changed color, and the soft sound of the evening returned. Later, the crab's children came back to the place. They called out softly, looking for their parent. When they saw what had happened, they stopped in silence. A deep sorrow filled their hearts. They stood there for a long moment, unable to speak. Then they looked around and understood the truth. The monkey had done this. Their sorrow slowly changed into quiet anger. They did not shout or cry loudly. Instead, they spoke calmly and made a decision together. They would not forget what had happened. They would make things right. The crab's children gathered their friends and told them everything. A chestnut came to help, small but strong. A bee came as well, quick and sharp. A heavy mortar joined them, silent but powerful. Together, they formed a plan. They would wait for the monkey and teach him a lesson he would never forget. That night, they entered the monkey's house quietly and hid in different places. The room was still, and only the faint sound of the fire could be heard. After some time, the monkey returned home. He seemed relaxed and unaware of what was waiting for him. He sat down near the fire and reached out his hand. At that moment, the chestnut burst from the fire and struck him. The monkey cried out in pain. Then the bee flew out and stung him again and again. The monkey shouted and tried to escape. But before he could move far, the heavy mortar fell from above. It struck him and forced him to the ground. The monkey collapsed and could not escape. The room became quiet again. The monkey lay there, breathing heavily. At last he spoke in a weak voice. "I am sorry," he said. "I was wrong. I was greedy, and I hurt the crab." The crab's children stepped forward and looked at him. "Do you understand now?" they asked. The monkey nodded slowly and answered, "I understand. I understand. Yes, I understand. I will never do such a thing again." There was a long silence. The air felt calm again. At last, the crab's children spoke. "Then live honestly from now on," they said. The monkey nodded again and promised to change. From that day on, he no longer tricked others or acted selfishly. He lived quietly and tried to be kind. The club's children continued their lives together, helping one another and remembering their parents with quiet love. The wind still moved gently through the trees. The stream still flowed with its soft, endless sound. And in that peaceful place, the memory of the club remained. So the story is finished. It is quite a sad story, isn't it? So thank you for watching. Good night.